Hello the cat. I took your spot. Looks like we have a visitor. So Cleo, are you interested by knowing anything about MIDI music? Well, let's try to do with a cat. So, some of you have been asking me what was this whole tool thing. I've been sharing that on Twitter for a while, where I was sharing some graphics, bitmap thing on some videos, like that one, where you see some crazy thing rotating with some source code behind. And then some other version, slightly more advanced, where you can see me playing and drawing sound, and with the keys changing. So, the genesis of all that started when I got this thing from Jonathan Bristow, Twilight, some years ago. It's actually a MIDI interface for the Oric. I did not have any MIDI equipment, and it's something I wanted to remedy. And so I decided to make some Atari ST videos about the game on the Atari ST, which supported the MIDI devices, like that one, which supports the MT32. So I got myself MT32. Since I was at it, I was interested by knowing what was actually the sound on the old these DOS game like Duke Nukem and Doom. So this is a SC55 MK2, and this is a SC88vl. That's basically what we are used for doing these DOS games. I decided to see what was the equivalent offering from KORG on the Yamaha at the time. So that one is a KORG NX5R, and this is the Yamaha MU100. And these two boxes are effect processors, and that one is a Yamaha TX7, which is basically the rack version of the Yamaha TX7, which is the famous synth used by all these 80s bands. Okay, that's nice. These things can do sound, but I did not have any actual input device. So I got myself this thing, the Yamaha Reface YC. The Reface family of devices, I think it's displayed there, is actually Yamaha making a new version of their old classics. So you have the Reface DX, which is a reinvention of the DX7. The YC, which is a reinvention of the old organ, and you also have the CS and I don't remember. Basically, there are 4 models, which are all different. And that one is unfortunately missing something. It does not have any pitch bend, because the organs did not have pitch bend. Instead, they had these footage thing, which are used to internal organ things, like you have the vibrato thing, and you have this rotary thing, which is the sound of the organs. Then my girlfriend, Miriam, also is doing music stuff. She had this Akai MPK Mini that she did not use. And this thing has that, which joystick thingy plus some knobs and some thing like that. What I wanted to do was to be able to play with this thing while having a pitch bend active. So I've been looking for software to do that, and then yes, there is software for doing that, but they are all very complicated to use. One of the candidates was Midi OX, which work nicely. So I made this contraption where I can get small rails out of my desk. I can launch Midi OX. What this thing does is you can map input ports like the Reface YC, MPK Mini to other devices. which means I can play with that. So basically, this maps the MIDI input on the same virtual device. So you can play with that, and you can affect the volume with it. The only problem is that Midi OX is kind of, like, you can look at the icon, it's like a Swiss Army knife. It is very practical, it's very nice for proof of concept, you can monitor the input and outputs, but it's not super fun to play with. So what I wanted to do basically was my own version of Midi OX. So to do that, because I'm a programmer, I decided to use this thing, RtMidi, which basically allows you to just define some input on the output devices, and you can connect them, send message, and things like that. To give you an idea what the code looked like, first version of Midi Aggregator, most of it is commented, but basically the entire program is this. Get input device MPK Mini 2, another input device Reface YC, an output device on Midi Out 7. So this is the MIDI interface I'm using, which is very nice. And then just a big loop, while not done, process input, process on the 2, and send that to TX7 output. And this process input, all it does, it receives a message. That one ignores active sensing, and basically send it back to output, which is the TX7. And that's all. This is 100% of the code. And for the graphics, I used SFML, which is something I used some years ago, actually 2012, when I was trying to do my 2D game. The current code is much bigger, I would say also messier, but yeah, it has a lot more devices. So let's start it. So I compile that. So this is a reface. So when I play, you can see that the key change on the screen. Same thing for that one. But you can also change all the small knobs, and this is shown in real time. Same thing on that one. So if I change things there, it changes on the screen. The cool thing is that I can use that actually to do things. Like if you look at the green selector box, here I selected the TX7. Now I selected the Roland SC88. Now I have the MU100, and then I have the KORG NX5. And when I play, so this is played on the TX7. That's on the SC88. Can change the volume there. And I can also change the sounds with that. I have a metronome. So I'll try if you can hear it. So this thing blinks. And I can change the speed. So I put that on the controller K8, and of course I can change the volume. So this is the TX7, but it's not the sound of the TX7. It's connected to the FX500 effect processor, which is right now on chasing leads, and I can change that with that. So broad dist, warm strings, but I can also enable, disable the various parameters. And enable, disable, which enables the bypass button. So these things right now, they are not used, other than that one, which is for the Metronom. But if you see here, I have this thing, which is a picture of a Tascam recorder. It was just for a quick test, but at some point I'm going to have bars here, which are going to be basically multi-track. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And so I can press the R key, which is going to change recording. Maybe full level. And play. So let's record again. So then I can press loop and play. So the idea is that basically I'm going to have the multiple tracks, which are going to be aligned on the speed of the metronome on bars. It should be able to record multiple lines and play together. And then compose on top, on build, and re-records. So basically I'm going to have a built-in looper, except it's all improvised at the moment. So yeah, the funny thing I did is that if I go on the NX5R, I showing the status of the small MIDI lamp here. And when I change the volume, you can see it also change on the small screen. Regarding the structure of the thing, why do I have two there on one? Because the TX7 basically does not have any built-in effect. The SC88, yeah, kind of have a reverb and chorus, but it's not very good. Both the Yamaha and the KORG have very, very good built-in effect. So I decided that for these two ones, I could just use the built-in effects. But for these two ones, I use the super effect processors on Yamaha things, because it's just easier. So I'm not sure at all what's going to be the end game. I'm definitely going to make it so the pads are decoupled from the actual device, because this MU100 has very good drums, and it also has additional built-in card, the plugin module, for Latin drums. So it makes perfect sense to use that one just for the drums. These three devices, they only have preset sounds. I mean, they are samples. That one is the only one which is very programmable because it's a FM synthesis. And I have 4,000 system exclusive patches, so I can basically program that one. So the idea is use that one mostly for drums, these two ones for other type of instrument, and that one for all the synths, funky things. And am I going to release that at any point as a final finished product that anyone can use? Probably not. Am I going to release the source code? Yes, definitely. But it's probably going to require people with programming experience, because right now it's hard-coded to use the name of the device connected to the particular MIDI port, and at some point it may become, even the paths are hard-coded, at some point it may become more flexible with some MIDI file, but it's not the objective. The whole objective is to have fun myself, playing with all these things. I still need to connect some of this stuff to the various controllers. So yeah, without these things, it's basically impossible to work. So this is a Yamaha Reface documentation where you get the system exclusive format. So on startup, I request to the synths the position of all these knobs, and I got everything returned in position on thing. I wanted to do the same thing for that, and indeed you can request the min max value on which control change is set up on each of the buttons, but it does not seem to have any way to tell you the current position of this one is 75%, which is kind of a shame. This is nice for doing vibrato and thing, but it's pretty much impossible to use the horizontal and vertical without, like, doing this movement without moving laterally is almost impossible. So what I'm doing now is that I'm modifying my shuttle to do that. So this one is like endless encoder, and this one can be used as basically a pitch bend. So that's going to be my MIDI controller for doing things like start record, next track, play, loop, cut. So that's the idea. And at some point, if I can fix this thing, I may also add the Oric in the equation. And maybe I'm going to add the Atari ST as a MIDI input device, so I can play YM sound, which would be funny. And at the moment, neither the MT32 or the SC55 are in action, mostly because these two, it's video game sound. It's not very, very good. The SC88 sounds much better than the SC55. And for the one who don't know the KORG, it has actually some pretty good demo music. Let's enter. and for the one who did not know, that one also has a demo. And as you notice, if you saw my previous video, the sound is fixed. So I had to open it and reflow some of the soldiers. But now it's working just fine. So there you go, playing with vintage hardware. So yeah, that one did not have proper sound. That one had buttons not working, I had to fix that. That one required a screen change. All of them pretty much required a battery internal change. So don't assume that working with a vintage sound thing is very simple. It is actually very complicated. That one, the screen only, you can be seen only from very like that. When you start to be on the side, it does not work anymore. So yeah, kind of a mess. I hope that was interesting. And now time to edit.